real estate professional here in Las Vegas. Has a very successful team of his own at Huntington and Ellis, which is a fantastic brokerage here in the Las Vegas Valley. So, Darin, again, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Darin, you and I, we were on a podcast together not too long ago. We spent a lot of time talking about building relationships, and one of the things that we've been really, I guess, focused on here with our team is the opportunity that we see in front of us today. Definitely a more challenging market than we've seen in the last few years, but it doesn't mean that there's not opportunity to be had for those who want to put the effort in. And so what I really want to do, today, this call for me is really about digging into the mindset of someone like yourself. I want to understand what a top agent is thinking, what he thinks about us, what you think about me, and really get to the bottom of how I can begin to understand your needs, and really establish long-lasting, long-term relationships at a high level. So, I want some honest dialogue. Give it to me straight and tell me exactly what you're thinking. Again,
Okay.
if I can understand what you're looking for, my people then can take that out and I think have a better success in their relationship. So, but to start and to kind of take one step back, we definitely understand. Everybody on this call that's ever been on any kind of sales call with me knows that it's a process to build a relationship with someone like yourself. So I want to just kind of start with that. So, for me, it's a 12 month kind of journey that I'm going to take before I'm even going to get my first transaction from you. So why don't we start there? What is it that that timeline, and for you, what does that mean, and how do you look at that when you're trying to make decisions with lenders?
So I think it's a great point, Chris. I mean, I think like anybody that you do business with, you've got to trust them, and you can only learn to trust them over time. And a lot of that learning to trust them over time is through consistent actions. And the biggest thing that I see on my end, and this is not just related to real estate or mortgage, but any sales industry I've ever worked in, is that a lot of salespeople, they give up too soon, and they have the expectation walking in or contacting you that they're going to get some immediate business. So if they have one lunch meeting with you or one coffee meeting, all of a sudden they're asking, why am I not getting any deals from you? And a lot of times for me, it's, I've got to date the person, right? I've got to create the relationship, get to know them, get to hear about some of their customers that they've worked with, and really feel comfortable, because anybody that I put in front of any of my clients, I have to know that they've been vetted, and I've vetted them myself. And so I think, you pointing out that it's a 12-month journey is really important, because I'll tell you, on average, the average timeline I see of whether it's LOs or anybody else reaching out to me usually goes for about 6 weeks, and then I no longer hear from them anymore.
And that's the end of it.
That's the end of it.
And and in that way, they're almost letting you off the hook, right?
Yep, exactly.
So let's kind of take a little bit of a step back and understand. So we know, first of all, it's going to take time to build a relationship with someone like you. How do you look at us as lenders, really? I mean, what do you think? And obviously, beyond providing just financing for your customers, how do you look at the relationship between you and your lender?
So I've always, from when I've started in real estate, I look at the lender, the title company, the inspector, everybody's part of my team, and we're all working towards the same goal, right? And so it really has to be a team relationship. I can share with you, even like with you, and some of the loan officers that I've worked with within your office, when I pass somebody off to them, I'm getting follow-up and updates. Hey, Darin, I talked to them. I reached out to them. That's really important, because it helps me know what my next step is. Because once I know that you've talked to them, now I know I can follow up and do my part. And so I think really for me, I view a loan officer as part of my team.
Yeah. And do you feel that's changed and maybe even gotten more important over the last number of months as interest rates have gone up. And, really in my mind, I've tried to impress upon our team that, now more than ever, your agent, your clients, your professionalism, your ability to educate and inform is more valuable now than it has been in years.
Yep. Yeah, and everything's rapidly changing, right? I mean, almost by the day, it feels like sometimes. And so, a couple of things I can point out right now is, it even surprised me when I talk to a lot of lenders and I'll say to them, man, a lot of agents don't know about 2-1 buy downs or all these different things. And they're like, really? How could they not know about that? I sent out my email. And so I think really being a source of information for the agents, digging in deep with the agent, finding out what they need, where could I be useful in helping them better their business. So what type of information could I provide? Because, we all get the emails, the weekly emails of updated interest rates, that type of stuff. But quite honestly, you get so much of it that you kind of just overlook it, right? And so, whether it's setting up a weekly 5-minute call at the beginning of the week with some of the agents that you work with maybe their entire team or their office, giving them some quick updates on the market, I think is a really good way to go with beginning to build that relationship with the agents.
Yeah, I mean, I think we take it for granted sometimes. Being in the business, I think sometimes we assume that the world just knows these things, and they don't. And so your point is very well taken. So, kind of a nice segue into, we talk about bringing value to our relationship. So again, I'm focused on, I want Darin Marques's business. I'm not doing business with him today. How do I get in front of him? How do I begin to build that relationship and start that process with him? So value, we throw that word around all the time. I want to bring value. I can bring value. How do I bring value? So I want to know from you specifically, what are you getting right now that's bringing value to your business and your customers?
I mean, one of the things is just even I always hate using this term out of the box, but like the stuff that you and I have worked on, like the corporate programs, right? Just stuff like that. Like I in the past, I never knew that any lender did those type of things. So even going and introducing those type of things to the agents, things that can help them build their business. I think back, and I'll use this as an example. Years and years ago, I used to sell direct to retailers, and I would never go sell them a product. I would go sell them my marketing plan on how I was going to help increase business into their business. Because I knew if I could help increase people coming through their doors, they would give me the business. And it would work 99.9% of the time. And so I think the same way with walking in and talking to an agent is not so much, hey, our interest rates today are this, or, we got the 2-1 buy down. That's all great information. But, hey, let me take 15 minutes and, where can I help you build your, what are you looking for? And just straight up asking the questions from the agents. What are you looking for from a lender? Where can I help you? And if they don't know, maybe sometimes giving them guidance on what you've seen work for other agents, because so many agents are new and so many of them have zero sales experience when they come into the industry. A lot of them come from the service industry and stuff like that. So they don't know, they just don't know what to do sometimes. And so they're kind of floating along for years getting sales, but they don't really have a strategy behind it. So, even, a lender coming in and saying to the agent, hey, let's sit down and business plan together. Let's create a 1-page summary of how you and I can work together and create a business plan so that I'm part of your business. I always tell my agents, be an asset, not a liability. If you're just feeding clients the same information every week that they can get on the news or anywhere else, to me, you're a liability, because now you're eating up my time and you're wasting my time with the same information I've heard 10 times today. So walk in thinking about how you can be an asset to your client and how you can benefit your client. And to me, that would be one of the ways to begin building the relationship, is by truly sitting down, understanding the agent's business, what their goals are for the year, and then how you can help them achieve those goals.
Yeah, and you make a great point. Understanding their business, I think, is important, because there are no two agents that are alike. And I think that What's critical in this process is getting to the bottom of that particular agent's needs. And I think you mentioned new agents. Do you bring on new agents onto your team, just brand new rookie agents?
Well, I will tell you that I've switched to almost every agent on my team now is new.
Okay. Well,
I,
less bad habits, right?
yep, less bad habits. They're more open to new ideas. So I do like to do things differently. I don't like to go down the same path that everyone else takes to get business because there's more competition. So I like to find workarounds, talking about the corporate programs. We just did the event the other day where we went and spoke to a small group of police officers directly. We picked up a lead from that. I like to go around it. And also I like strategies that help me build relationships with customers the same way that you guys are looking to build a relationship with me. I like to do that with my customers. I like to be face to face. I like to shake hands. I like to talk to them. So because, again, going back to the trust factor, one of the number one reasons people don't want to use an agent is because they don't trust agents. And so for me, if I can look them in the eye, I can shake their hand. They know they're going to see me, whether it's, every month or every few weeks in front of them, then they can start to feel confident that they can trust me.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting opportunities is with new agents because they don't have all of the years of loyalties or relationships built. Now it's a little bit of a longer play,
Yep.
and a lot of agents, I'm sure you would admit, don't make it. Some just simply won't be successful in the business. But I could tell you by experience that over the years, some of the agents that I did the most business with were those that I felt were never had a chance, and ultimately
Yep.
became very successful in the business. So let's switch gears a little bit to communication. Um, I heard at one point, not too long ago, a guy that I follow was talking. Someone asked him, "How do I communicate with consumers? How do I communicate with my referral partners?" And the answer was great. I thought it was, "Hey, communicate with them how they want to be communicated with." In other words, it's not up to me how I'm going to communicate with my clients or my customers or you as a potential referral partner. I need to figure out how you want to be communicated with. So if I'm, again, kind of going back to the premise here that I don't know you, I don't know, and I've never gotten a deal from you, what's the best way for me to break the ice with someone like you?
So I think, and this goes back to my retail experience, I think stopping in on a weekly basis, even every couple of weeks. I know sometimes the first response from the person behind the counter or when you walk in is not always the best because they see a lot of people. I think that, and I actually have heard this from my wife who works for a builder, and obviously right now, with things being slow, they've got 10 lenders a week walking in their door, and she said they all overstay their welcome, meaning that they just kind of linger and they hang. And she's like, I've got work I've got to do, and they're just hanging out. And so I learned this years ago when I sold to retail, because when I'd walk into retailers, they were super busy. And so I would walk in, drop my card. Hey, I just want to say hi. I see that you're busy, so that I take that away from them right away so that they're not telling me they're busy. I would recognize it and say, hey, I know you're busy. Just want to leave my information. If you need something, I'll stop back by in a couple of weeks. And I would stop back by in a couple of weeks. And so the one thing that it did is that the more they saw my face, one, they're like, wow, you really did stop back by. Sorry, the other day I was rude to you. I was, stressed out or whatever. But I think that's the biggest thing. And I just shared this with one of my agents this morning. He was prospecting, and he had somebody send a pretty rude response. And I said, kill him with kindness, man. I said, call him back. And he did. And he ended up having a great call with the guy. And the guy apologized for being so rude. He was having a rough day yesterday. But I think that number one, you've got to be a little bit, I don't want to say shielded, but you can't let that stuff bother you. If you walk in and you get a negative response, go back in a couple of weeks and just say, hey, sorry, I stopped in last week. I knew you were busy the other day, but just wanted to pop by. If there's anybody here that has any questions or needs any help with open houses or whatever, just want to let you guys know that I'm in the area. I'm here to help. And the more you start to see those people, and that's the way I like to be communicated with, is that I would rather have the personal touch. A text message, an email, those things are great once I have the relationship with you. But to me, those are very passive approaches, because you can just blast email everybody at one time or blast text everyone at one time. For me, it's got to be a combination. First, I want to see you and get to know you face to face. And then you can send me that information via text and email, and I'll be more responsive to it also, because now I know you and I have a relationship with you and I respect you. I'm going to be more likely to check that text. I'm going to be more likely to read that email. I think that's one of the biggest keys. Is I think that with technology, we've gotten so far away from that personal touch that people still hunger for it. And when you do it, because nobody does it anymore, when you do it, people they start to warm up to it. And then they start to look forward to you coming in. And eventually they're going to have a question they want to ask you, and you'll happen to be there that day that they could say, hey, I've got a quick question for you.
Yeah, that's interesting. So here we are in this, all kinds of technology that help us become more efficient and more productive. And at the end of the day, what you're saying is the more old school approach, and come out face to face. And there's other ways to do that. I don't have to walk into your office to do that, right? You've got agents at open houses. You've got events that you might be going to, and that's one of the kind of the pillars of our concept here is that I need to figure out where you're going to be, whether that is socially, and not that I'm going to stalk you, Darin, but where are you going to be socially? Where are you in a professional environment, so that I can bump into you and have that face-to-face encounter. So it's not just your office that is an opportunity for me to meet you face to face, but I need to be looking at other places. So really, we're talking about what I used to do back when we would put flyers in mailboxes, in the agent's mailbox. I mean, that's really what we're talking about at that level. So what about, you talked about texting and emailing, but what about social media? Is there an opportunity there for me to connect with you? I follow you on a number of platforms already currently. So, is that a strategy that you feel could work? If I was to direct message you on Instagram, obviously, if I was new to your world, would you respond to me?
Most definitely. And I could tell you the ones that I respond to and the ones that I don't. When they send me the standard, hi, I'm a lender, I want to find out how I can work with you, just the very standard information. And it's almost kind of like they probably blast that out to 50 different agents. I'll be honest with you, I ignore it because I get so much of it. But when somebody reaches out and they just say, hey, I saw that you work this area, or that you were going to do an open house, would love to participate with you. I'll blast it out to my database as well. If you want to partner up on it, right? I'm more likely to respond, bring something to me. And I think that's the other thing is that, and I'll share it with you. I mean, the listing I just got in Askaya, Chris, I mean, you know which one it is. You've seen it there. I went and did a broker open for him. I was helping him with stuff. I went and hung a picture in his house that fell down long before I even had the listing. And most of the agents, they didn't understand why I was doing that. They're like, well, that's not our listing. Why would you do that? And I'm like, because I want to show them what I do, what the level of service is that I provide. And there's no expectation of anything back from them. If I get the listing, great, but I want to show them what I do. I'm not going to sit back and wait for them to give me the opportunity and then show them I'm going to show them up front what I can do, and then I'll earn that opportunity. And that's exactly what's happened. And I've done that for years with a lot of clients. I'll go and I'll just do stuff for them. And I've done open houses and for sell by owners, and believe it or not, that's worked really well. We've gotten open houses because, we've gotten those listings because I tell the client, no obligation. I want to just come in. I'm going to host an open house. If a buyer comes in unrepresented, just give me the opportunity to represent them. But if you sell the home, great. And now what it does is it gives me an opportunity to build the trust with that client and start to show them that I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. I'll do the work. I'll show you that I can do the work. And I think that's one thing that I've noticed in all sales industries that is lost a little bit of what I feel is a tradition in sales, is that now most people expect you to give them business first. And this just happened with a title company with me. They wanted me to switch everything over to them before they would do anything for me. And I said, well, how about the other way around? You know that I perform, you know how much business I do. How about you show me what you're going to do for me, and then I'll give you some business, and there's always those risks in any business that you may do all that work and you may make that effort and you may not get anything out of it. But that's just the risk of being in sales anyway.
It sure is. And, I think another thing that I've been really kind of just holding out there to me as a mindset is right now it's markets like this where you need to buy into the concept of putting effort without reward. The
Yes.
last couple of years for you, it was deals were falling out of the sky. For us, you could stand outside and refis would drop in your lap. I mean, it's just the way it was going, right? So, but now is it's one of those cycles where you've got to invest in those relationships. You've got to put the time in and realize that the reward is probably coming later, right? It's not coming today. It's going to come in the next 12 months. It's interesting you mentioned that listing because I remember hitting you up and saying, hey, did you get that listing? And you said no. And I said, wow, I can't tell because the way you were promoting it and the great job that you were doing at exposing that property, to me, it felt like it was your listing. And congratulations, by the way, on getting that. You certainly earned it. So team, look, if you're not hearing what Darin is saying, it's I think it's it is important to understand that we've got to prove ourselves. We've got to really show over an extended period of time that we're the real deal. And so Darin, I want to just kind of, at what point, give me some light at the end of the tunnel here, because I know it's a tough road to get your business, but at what point are you going to take me seriously? I'm doing all the things that we just talked about. I'm showing up. I'm taking chances. I'm providing value. At what point do you take me seriously and say, you know what, Chris, I'm going to give you the first deal?
So, it can happen pretty quickly, Chris, and I'll share with you why. And I share this with the agents all the time when they're nervous to follow up with people. And I'm like, don't be nervous. There's a very nice way that you can follow up. I always tell people, hey, I don't want to bug you. Just wanted to check in with you, see if there's anything I can help you with. But sometimes it comes quickly because the one thing that I believe in is that you have to be top of mind, right? And because every day we're all getting hit with so many sales messages, regardless if it's from a lender or whoever it's from. Every day we're getting hit with so many sales messages. And I always use the Glenn Lerner example, right? I bet you almost everybody on this call right now could say Glenn Lerner's phone number because we've all seen it 1,000 times a day. And it's not every day that you need an attorney. But when you do, he's going to be the first person you think of. And that's the same thing that I share with the agents on my team. And I think that applies to any salesperson, is that you want to always be top of mind. So, the personal touch, the one-on-one of walking in and saying hi, but the follow up with an email, the sending content or information that can be useful to the agent. I was just thinking before the call of something that, if I were a lender, what would be useful to an agent? The number one thing that I can tell you right now is that every agent wants to be more prominent on social media. They want to be more prominent in video. And it doesn't even have to be because doing the video for them still doesn't help them, because the number one reason why most of the agents don't do the videos, they don't have content. So just even coming up with weekly a little tip weekly or daily. Hey, here's a tip of the day for content. Do a video about X. We have a lot of clients that are asking this from agents. Providing that information and that service to help the agent better start to build their business. And what will happen in time, and I've seen this over the years with clients and vice versa, even with me when somebody's trying to earn my business, is that, there's a point where I begin to feel obligated. I'm like, damn, this person's doing a lot for me and they're top of mind. I'm going to give them a shot because they're always calling me. I know I can trust them because everything that they said that they're going to do, they said they were going to call me at Friday at 2:00. They called me. Sure enough, Friday at 1:59, they called me. I know I can trust this person now because when I turn my client over to them and they tell my client they're going to get something done at a certain time, I can now trust. And so it's all those little touches. And like you said, without the expectation of anything immediately in return, that starts to build that relationship and be top of mind, so that when that person does call you and say, hey, I need a lender, you're going to know that, if I know your number and your email off the top of my head without looking it up, you're the first person I'm referring.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Great advice. Hey, guys, James, did we get any? I forgot to, and you forgot to remind me to ask if anybody wanted to post any questions in the chat. Do we have anything?
We don't have anything
But
yet. I didn't want to interrupt
that's
in the
okay.
middle of the back and forth, but yeah.
No, that's okay. I think we're a little tight on time. I want to be respectful of Darin's. He's got a deadline here. I got to get him off the call. But just kind of my last question, and maybe something to, and you've given us a lot of great insight into the way that you think and the way that you look at our side of the industry here. You mentioned earlier, one of the big mistakes that you see lenders making is they just give up too soon. Is there any other advice that you might be able to give us, kind of a, hey, stay away from this, don't do that? Is there something that bugs you, that you see that you could share with us?
The one that I used to joke that I don't know if they taught lenders this, but the one was, hey, I'm going to give you updates all the time on your file, and I'll send you leads. One, don't tell me that you're going to send me leads. I don't care about that. All I really want you to do is take care of my customer. Send me a lead without telling me you'll send me a lead, and then I'll love you. Because, I think sometimes the LOs try to set the expectation really high of what they're going to provide to the agent, and then when they're not getting what they want from the agent right away, they don't do it anymore. And so I think just do it without ever being asked, or telling that you're going to do it. And I always say, when they tell me that about, hey, I'm going to follow up on the files and I'll be on time, I'm like, that's like FedEx bragging that they're going to deliver on time. That's the expectation. That's what you should be doing. So You don't need to share that with me. Just reassure me by taking care of my clients. And again, I think it just goes back to that trust factor of building the relationships. And the other thing is that, if you're walking in to talk to me, treat every person on my team the same way you would treat me. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I will tell you I see from salespeople or vendors who are trying to acquire my business, is they'll come in and they'll look for me. And if they can't talk to me, they don't want to talk to anybody else on my team. And I can tell you the biggest way to get to the top is through the people that are around that person and creating a good relationship with them. And so whether it's the person at the front desk in the brokerage, don't even worry about going in and asking for the agents. Just go in and start to get to know that person at the front desk and create that relationship with them, because they are going to be the gatekeeper that helps open the door and introduce you to those other agents. Because the agents, all come up and they ask all the time, especially when it's a new agent, hey, do you have a number for a lender? A lender that does this, or do you have a title company that does this? We're always asking the front desk people stuff. And so to me, that is one of the most critical positions to create the relationship within any office, is that person who's sitting at the front door, and create the relationship with them. Because number one, I can tell you, they get overlooked all the time and people walk right past them. And so they don't feel of value. So if you begin to build your value with that person at the front desk, that person, a lot of people don't understand how much they control. They will begin to share information with the agents in the office. Pretty soon they'll say, hey, next week, Chris, when you come in, why don't you bring me some more of your cards and flyers? I'm going to set them up here on the counter. Because now you've started to create the relationship with that person behind the counter. I had that conversation with one of the agents on my team, because she's been going to business, and she's like, yeah, but I can never get to the owner. I said, well, quit asking for the owner. I said, when I owned a retail store back in 2012, and intentionally when reps would come in and they would ask me, hey, is the owner available? I'd say, no, he's not. What can I help you with? Oh, never mind. I'll just come back and talk to the owner. I'm like, okay. And I'd watch these salespeople come back for months and months and months. And then eventually one of them would walk in and go, oh, I heard you're the owner. And I'm like, I am, but you never talked to me. You were just, and so I think it's really important to remember that those gatekeepers are some of the most important people in those offices. And you have to create the relationship with them first. And when you build that relationship, they will open the gate for you, and they will start to make those introductions. And I can tell you, I think I've shared with you, Chris, I've been in sales since I was 17. It's all I've ever done in my career. I cannot tell you the number of times that the person answering the phone, the assistant, the person behind the counter, they were the ones responsible for getting me that account, because I had created such a strong relationship with them that they started to push me in front of that owner and say, hey, this guy's super persistent. He comes in every week. He's always super friendly. He brings us stuff. He gives us information. He's been here to help when we've needed help. And next thing I know, I'm getting a call from the owner of that company saying, hey, I talked to my staff today. And they keep telling me that I got to give you a call. So I figured I'd give you a call. And I can't tell you how many times that's happened in my career. So that would be one of the biggest things that I'll leave off with, is just that, don't always just shoot for the top. Look at the people that are on that team. And I know this even when I was on Ivan's team. It was funny how many people used to, when I was managing, the first thing they would do is they would skip over me and try to go right to Ivan. And then Ivan or Florence would redirect them back to me. And then they would have to come back with their tail between their legs, because now they know how they treated me, and they could have got a lot further if they would have treated me right. And then I would have pushed them to the top and said, hey, this is the person that we need to be working with. So I think it's a really important thing to remember, is that person behind the counter, they can be the person who's going to open that gate for you to the rest of those agents in that office, for you to be able to work with.
Hey, Darin, great advice, great information. Thank you so much for being on this call today. I'm already getting some pings that today's call was fantastic. So I'm sure I'll be getting
Awesome.
a ton of feedback from the team here. So yeah, and again, thank you so much. Thanks for being generous with your time, guys. You hear it. This is a top guy. He's just told you how to do it. He explained how to be successful. Go out and build those relationships. So hopefully we can all take that information and take it to the streets. So Darin, again, thank you so much. Team, thank you for being on the call, and we will be doing this again soon. So stay tuned for our next call. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Thanks again, Darin. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.